So, good morning to all of you. We are again continuing our discussion on biodiversity. In the previous classes, we have tried to understand what is biodiversity, what is the importance of biodiversity, and then we have also tried to understand endemic and threatened um, species. Then we try to understand and discuss about the uh, problems associated with diversity and what are the causes for decline of biodiversity, all those things we have been discussing, and today also we will continue to with the same thing under the another heading, that is the threats to biodiversity. So many things which we discuss will be the repetition, but I cannot avoid because your syllabus speaks like that. So now, what are the threats to biodiversity? Why the biodiversity is facing the danger of being wiped out, or many times they are facing a very precarious future. Probably, if you go on listing the threats or the causes for the decline of biodiversity, uh, you can make an endless list of the reasons which causes sufficient threats to our existing biodiversity. So now, today in this class, I would like to prioritize some of the very important causes for the loss of biodiversity, and in the next class, we will try to understand how best they can be conserved. So this is the broad uh, uh, I can say that the synopsis for the day's study. Now, one of the major reasons for the decline of the biodiversity or threats to the biodiversity is the habitat loss. Most significant threat, I can say that, to the biodiversity, because when you alter an ecosystem or the habitat is the place where the living beings dwell. For example, for a fish, the habitat is a water body. For mango tree, it is a terrestrial land. That is their habitat. So the place where they dwell or live, we can call it as the habitat. So when we alter an ecosystem, and in an ecosystem there will be large number of habitat, and each habitat is occupied by different types of flora and fauna. When something happens to their habitat, that is to the entire ecosystem or sometimes to the uh, habitat directly, um, the species can survive no longer. To give one, especially this is the case, most severe impact will be on endemic and endangered species, because they have a very restricted ecosystem or very restricted habitat. Suppose if we lose this habitat, these organisms will be no longer able to survive. So that's why the habitat loss is the primary cause. Habitat loss can happen by number of means. For example, if there is some developmental work that takes place in the forest, which I have shown you, there's a road construction in the forest. What happens is the habitat of many of the organisms which are living in that place or that space or in that area gets affected, and either they have to run to the adjacent area if it is there, or otherwise they have to perish forever. So that's why the habitat is very very important. uh, to give one more example, suppose if the water body in which a particular fish is surviving, or if it gets polluted, if the water dries up because of so many other factors which influence upon them, naturally that will affect the uh, uh, animals or plants which are living there. So that's why the habitat becomes a very very important and the loss of habitat is irreversible most of the time. Already we have discussed fragmentation and all those things, and this is directly to the biodiversity. Habitat loss can happen because of the deforestation when the forests are logged or cleared for human use, and if they are not replanted. Many times, if some part of the habitat loss also poses the severe threat to them, because you may say that these animals can move to the remaining or surrounding area, then they have to face the competition with already existing members uh, of the same species in that area. So then there will be struggle for their very existence, and the competition is always dangerous for them. The struggle is always dangerous. Then it can be habitat destruction, even habitat loss with the end. But before that, there will be destruction. One of the most devastating stress. Again, this habitat destruction is at 99% of the time is because of the anthropogenic activity, that is the human intervention. um, when you convert some land for other uses. For example, if there's a forest and if you convert that into areca nut garden or coconut orchard or coffee plantation or even a rice field, then what happens is already existing flora and fauna will has to face the danger. Or urban area comes out, city, town, agriculture area. Once you remove the natural area, once removed, then have often permanent, it's a permanent loss. uh, Even if you do some artificial restoration, you cannot, or even if you can, it will take uh, many number of years to restore to their original condition. So that's why these are some of the very important things. The habitat loss happens sometimes when the natural disasters or human activities change the ecosystem. Sometimes it may be because of natural disaster. Natural source, sometimes the volcanic eruption, very rarely in some places there may be natural volcanic eruptions. So when the volcanoes outburst, that will uh, cause severe threat to the biodiversity of that area. Sometimes the wildfires, if it is natural, some most of the time the forest fires are because of the careless cigarette smokers who toss their lighted cigarette and that catches the fire, and the leaves, dry leaves of the forest catches the fire. But sometimes naturally also the forest fire can happen in the dry season. That can also last year you must have heard in US and even in Australia also there was a huge wildfire, uh, that the forest fire, and that has also caused the habitat loss. Sometimes the droughts may not be rain precipitation or rainfall for continuously for 2 3 years, then also then severe storms, as you witness because of the barometric depressions in the ocean, and then naturally there will be storms which may uproot many of the plants, plants, and the animals which are uh, supported by them have also have to face the consequences. Even the tsunami, some 20 years back, you must have heard in Tamil Nadu coast there was tsunami. Lot of marine water got inundated into the fresh water, and many of the freshwater species, aquatic species, and even the plants which are on the land, they because they have to suffer because they cannot tolerate this salt water. So these are, so very rarely it happens, but mostly the habitat loss, habitat destruction, everything is commonly attributed to the human intervention. Human intervention. and especially the deforestation, draining of wetlands. We are converting the wetlands. Once wetlands were considered as wastelands, but now we have understood the importance of these wetlands, which are having a high primary productivity. Not only high primary productivity, actually these wetlands are the source of water, and most of our rivers, hill streams originate in these wetlands. So if you drain the wetlands, it will certainly affect the uh, biodiversity. Or damming the river. Damming the river has twofold aspect. If you put a dam, that obstruct the natural flow of water. As a result, the lower riparian vegetation, as well as uh, the fauna, aquatic fauna, it gets affected. Then when you build a dam on the upper riparian states or upper riparian area, also get affected because large amount of land gets submerged in the water, and associated flora and fauna, that they will also get submerged. That's what has happened when Linganamaki Reservoir Dam was constructed, or Kali. There are three dams either in Ganeshguri or Supa. When there's a large scale submersion of the area, which has threatened the biodiversity of that area. So these are some of the forest. This is the photograph which will tell you about the how the deforestation. See, this is adjacent to a forest. Earlier this was also a forest area, but unfortunately for various reasons it has been logged or cleared and never replanted, and uh, this will cause severe threat. Even in India, fortunately now the forest area is increasing, but in many other countries the forest area is decreasing. See the logging of the forest, it will certainly affect the diversity. Don't think that this is only the trees have been cut. Along with the trees, trees are providing support to large, vast variety of uh, birds, insects, beetles, butterflies, worms, ants, all of them, they become homeless all of a sudden when you cut a tree. Then along with that, there may be when the large trees are cut, so many epiphytes, lianas also get associated with that uh, tree. They also get uprooted. So this results in the tremendous loss of biodiversity. Then I was talking about draining wetlands. See, the wetlands are the waterlogged area. It may be uh, swamps, reservoir swamps, bogs, puddles, or it can be lakes, stream, everything that comes under the waterlogged area. That's the wetlands. Actually, wetlands cover about 6% of the Earth's surface, and plants, turtles, snakes, mink, and more than thousands more animals live in this wetland. Many migratory birds visit this wetland to feed and rest, uh, because the plants that grow there filter sediment and filter the pollution also from the water. Um, These wetlands are drained for farming or building homes or or building cities. For various reasons, the wetlands have been converted. Uh, one example, Ontario is a lake where 90% of its wetland have been destroyed. In India, we do not have uh, the exact figure. Then another threat to biodiversity is the alien species. Alien species, what do you mean by alien species? About that again we have to discuss in the next class also, but here also, because alien species pose severe threat to our biodiversity. What are alien species? They are not the native species. These are the species which are found elsewhere in the world, but accidentally or deliberately they have been introduced into a new location. For example, one particular mussel, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಚು ಅಂತ ಇರ್ತದೆ, mussel, that the zebra mussel, it is not found in this region traditionally, but nowadays you can see the zebra mussel all over the world because it has been introduced accidentally. Um, so, introduction of these non-native species or exotic species, which is from somewhere else, that we can call it as the alien species. Um, and this exotic species or non-native species, they become invasive species. Uh, uh, Maybe for various reasons. Suppose to give a best example for this alien species is the Eupatorium and Parthenium. All of you have seen this Eupatorium and Parthenium. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಿತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಡಿನಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಪಾರ್ಥೇನಿಯಂ, ಏನು ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ಸು ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಗಿಡ ಮತ್ತು ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಸ್ಟ್ ಗಿಡ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ನೀವು. In this area we have Eupatorium, which is known as Congress, sorry, communist grass. And if you go to North India, you will get Parthenium, that is known as Congress grass. So these are invasive species. They are not our traditional native species. What has happened when India imported wheat from other countries? Along with the wheat, the seeds of this Parthenium and Eupatorium also came here, and they are so strong, hardy, and sturdy plants that they get colonized here and masking the native species. So, such are known as alien species. And this alien species, in a second largest threat to the biodiversity after habitat loss, we can say that. So, species introduced to new part of the biosphere from other region. Uh, Sometimes it may be introduced accidentally in shipments for food or good like Parthenium and Eupatorium, or sometimes they may be deliberately also done. They take over the habitat of native species. They take over the habitat of native species. They arrive here, survive here, and thrive here at the cost of the native species. To give two examples again on the international scenario, one is European earwig and giant hogweed. See, this is another one what is known as zebra mussel, which just now I have told you. So this is the zebra mussel. ಏನು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಳಚೆನಾಗೆ ಇದೆ ಜಿಬ್ರಾ ಮಸಲ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಬೈವಾಲ್, ಬೆಳಚೆನೆ ಹೆಸರು ಜಿಬ್ರಾ ಮಸಲ್ ಅಂತ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೇಟಿವ್ ಟು ಏಷ್ಯಾ, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಲೇಕ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ basalt water in 1980. What is this basalt water? Basalt water is the water carried by the ships. To give an example, suppose a ship comes to Karwar port and it has been loaded with manganese, and manganese is exported to China. Okay, now they fill the ship with the manganese, and the ship sail to China and empty that cargo. That is the all manganese ores are uh, emptied there. Now you cannot bring back the empty ship because of the uh, less weight. They will topple all of a sudden in the ocean. They will topple. So then what they will do is they will pump water from this Chinese sea into the compartments of the boat which has been emptied, and then they load that with water and ship sails back to Karwa. Now again they have to refill the manganese. Before filling the manganese, they will pump out all the water. Now, what has happened while filling the water, many species, aquatic species of Chinese sea, has entered inside the uh, compartment of the ship. And when you empty the water in Karwar, the same species will enter into our ocean, which was not uh, found before that. Even after the manganese uh, export, even we Uttara Kannada ocean is also witnessing lot of such alien species which are not found in the previous years. uh, native mussels. So this zebra mussel has been transported like this from Asia to Great Lakes, and now uh, what they will do is they will compete with the native shrimps or native bivalves, and they will they are these zebra mussels are more hardy than their native mussels, so they will outnumber, and this zebra mussel has no food value. So this is what happening in the alien species. This is another fish. What is known as round gobies. Uh, this has also been introduced by basalt water in late 1980s. Another, and they compete with the native fish for spawning area. And this is not a good fish. It is not an edible fish. So, and they eat many aquatic species. They are voracious feeders. They affect the food chain of the native species. Native species are deprived from the food what they used to eat. Uh, After 10 years, within 10 years, they have colonized all the Great Lakes, like the area population in billions. Uh, like this, one more example, I will give you the Gambusia fish. Gambusia is also known as mosquito fish. This fish is very hardy fish, and it is a voracious feeder. It feeds on the mosquito larvae. So, in order to control, in the name of control, biological control of mosquitoes, this Gambusia fish seeds were sown in the mosquito prone areas in order to control the malaria. Uh, then what has happened is this Gambusia fish, they started feeding the mosquitoes, certainly, but they are the prolific breeders. Their number increased exponentially, and they started outnumbering the local edible fishes. But Gambusia fish has no food value. It has affected the ecology of that area and resulted in the loss of biodiversity. Like the zebra mussel, um, basalt water. When cargo picks up, keep them stable, see, and dump the water. So now this zebra mussel outcompete the native crustaceans, and it is a major source of food earlier. Because of the zebra mussels, the food is not available. Round gobies, Asian round goby. This is another example which I. Then another threat to biodiversity is the overexploitation, use and extraction of resources until it is depleted. ಏನು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗೋದ್ರವರೆಗೂ ಆ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಓವರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಯೂಸ್ ಆರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಅಂಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲೇಟೆಡ್, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಡಿಪ್ಲಿಷನ್. uh, as a result of that, what has happened? Passenger pigeons, which was once more than 5 billion, um, but in the beginning of the last century, in the 1900, the last passenger pigeon also died, and it has become extinct because the passenger pigeons were hunted so much so that entire population was totally wiped out. Then yellowfish tuna or Atlantic cod, uh, overfish, overexploitation, and reduce their population to all by 90% population has been wiped out. This is happening in many of the overexploitation. Uh, is generally seen in our area also. Uh, Nowadays, you must have heard since last few years, the fishermen are complaining that they are not getting enough fish catch when they go for fish catch. Why they are not getting enough fish catch? The reason is simple. The ocean basin has been totally sealed or drained by these fishermen over this last 10, 15 long years. What has been done is they use different size of different types of nets, starting from light fishing to purseine, so that when they drag the net, it virtually uh, collects everything in between. Almost all fishes, almost all fishes of all sizes. They are caught, and uh, as a result, no adult fishes are left. Bigger size fishes are also not left because bigger fishes are important to continue their reproduction. So we have not left the fishes to reproduce, but instead of that, before reproducing, we have caught everything. Even when you declare the fishing holiday in the month of June and July, people venture into the ocean and collect them. And even there, uh, in the net, the mesh size has become so small that even juvenile fishes are also uh, caught. So, because of all this, these are what you call over exploitation, and as a result, the fish uh, catch has gone down drastically. Even after the mechanization with the modern techniques like fish finders and or satellite imageries, everything, we are over exploiting the resources, and again we are complaining that they are not available. So this is again because of the human intervention. So if the fish catch has gone down, you cannot blame anyone except the fishermen who go there for fish collection. So use or extraction of the resources until it is totally depleted. One good example is Atlantic cod, totally wiped out. Even passenger pigeon. See how they collect the fish, everything using different modern gadgets, equipments, and the mesh size has also become very small. Then the threat to biodiversity is the extinction of the organisms. When all individuals of a species die, not one even for example, then we call it as extinction. That is the when these species are totally wiped out. Usually, the extinction happens when death rate exceeds birth rate over a long period of time. Less number of birth and more number of deaths. Maybe because of overexploitation, predation, diseases. You can quote any number of reasons for this. Uh, For example, if you look into the background of the extinction, first there will be change in the ecosystem. Slowly, the species which are in that ecosystem they become extinct one by one. Even sometime mass extinction, a relatively sudden change in the ecosystem. Uh, for example, the dinosaurs. We claim that because of the hit from an asteroid, all dinosaurs died. So these are some of the reasons for extinction. Then disrupting the connectivity across the ecosystem. Disrupting the connectivity across the ecosystem is also another problem for uh, loss of biodiversity. Uh, to give an example, uh, when one species affected an ecosystem, other species are also being impacted. Because in an ecosystem, you know that all organisms are held in what you call the food chain or food web. If in the chain, if the one link is missing, means the chain becomes useless. Same thing happens in an ecosystem. In ecosystem, it's a very interactive food web is there, which is the association of number of food chains which are interlinked, then it will cause this one. And disrupting connectivity across the ecosystem. I can give you one more example. When the dam is built, this problem has been observed. Uh, or if their corridors are blocked, then also it happens because the connectivity is not there. When the connectivity is not there, uh, then the population becomes small and inbreeding will be there. It will cause so many, it can create a lot of genetical disorders also. Or when dams are built, there are many fishes. If you consider the example of fishes, uh, they spend their entire adulthood in the sea or ocean, and for breeding they have to come to the rivers. there are some fishes like uh, eel fishes, which live in the fresh water but go to the ocean for breeding. Now, if a dam is built, then naturally they cannot cross over, they cannot cross the land bridge or this dam. So then they fail to reproduce and they become extinct. See, this is one example which has become the extinction. This is the woolly mammoth, our ancestor of our elephant. Um, Sometime it may be slow or it may occur because of overexploitation by natural causes. And at present, if you look into the extinction rate, that is 100 to 1000 times higher than the extinction rate which used to happen in the remote past. So we are losing many of these animals at a very alarming rate. And for example, this glass frog, Central and Southern America, Chinese giant salamander, these are all highly endangered and they are going to uh, become extinct. Even the frigate island beetles, giant coconut crab of the Pacific Island. So they are all highly threatened, and shortly, if uh, they will uh, enter into the list of extinction. Even habitat degradation and fragmentation, it's also uh, it is less devastating compared to total habitat loss. But when the degradation takes place, when the original quality of the habitat gets disturbed and the habitat becomes fragmented, uh, that also causing severe problem. Uh, to make it to understand it better, I can give you the example of the elephants in Karnataka. All of you know the elephants in Karnataka are found in two pockets actually now. One is in Bandipur, Nagarhole, Bannerghatta, and that area, and another uh, group of elephants are found in Dandeli. Actually, earlier there was no isolation, there was no fragmentation. There was used to be elephant corridor. Elephants used to migrate from this from here to entire southern India, and from there the elephant used to come here. But now what has happened because of the loss of the forest in between, their corridor get disrupted and they cannot move. So this is causing the great danger to the animals. Then ಏನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ? ಹಲೋ, yes.
ಹಾ ಸರ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Yes, sir.
Okay. Another reason for decline of biodiversity is the pollution. What is pollution? To put it in very simple, it is the adulteration of something or contamination of the natural environment. We call it as pollution. This pollution can be from the liquid, solid, gases, even from electromagnetic radiation input in the air, water, or land. So, what has happened? Our pristine ecosystem has been affected because of this pollution. It contaminates, and when it contaminates, uh, uh, when it gets contaminated, it will no longer will be able to support the original flora and fauna of that. Suppose if the water body gets contaminated, what happens is many of the carps, the fishes, they will uh, first die because they are very susceptible to change in the environmental condition. Then more hardy fishes like catfishes and other fishes will colonize. So this will change the biodiversity or the assemblage of these species. They get changed. Even in either it may be in the aquatic environment or in the terrestrial environment also, you can notice the same thing. And even sometimes the radiation inputs in air, water, and land. There is one, though it is not fully justified, there is one saying because of the electromagnetic radiation, the Nowadays we are not getting enough number of these passer domestica, what you call in Canada the guppi. Their population has gone down drastically. Nowadays you don't see them, isn't it? That bird is not seen. And we attribute that to electromagnetic radiation of the mobile towers and other things, though it is not fully scientifically or fully justified, but there's a rumor. So like that, when there's a electromagnetic radiation in air, water, or maybe pollution by gas or chemicals or pesticides, or even by the chemical fertilizers, that affects the naturally the biodiversity. See the pollution. So suppose if the large scale pollution is there, certainly it will not, the environment will not be able to tolerate, the ecosystem will not be able to sustain. Uh, so as a result, there will be a great loss of many species that happens. Then even added to this, we are all talking about global climate change. Biological organism in the environment, they are affected. So environmental change or climate change, even we are talking about the global warming. Every year has, is becoming hotter and hotter every year, year by year. When there's a climate change, uh, see, any organism, either it may be plant or animal, it has evolved and adapted to its natural environment. And if there's a sudden change in the natural environment, these organisms cannot cope up immediately. So the fluctuation, a slight fluctuation can be detrimental to their survival. So even uh, that will affect the biological organisms, even both plants and uh, animals. Many organisms are physiologically, psychologically established a toleration level. If the because of this global climate change, because of the rise in the temperature and all, if the temperature goes beyond their critical minimum temperature or critical maximum temperature, it will certainly affect the life there. So the species, uh, even their migration is affected. So they no longer will survive. Uh, Even sometimes the diseases. Uh, to the wild animals, plants. Uh, to give one common example of this area, during 1974, if my memory goes right, there was a disease called as rinderpest disease in Bandipur Nagarhole region. It is just like mouth and foot disease. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕಳಿಗೆ ಕಾಲು ಕಾಲು ಬೇನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಬಾಯಿ ಇದು ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟಲ್ಸ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಏನು ಆಂಟ್ಲರ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ, ಏನು ಚಿಗರೆ ಜಾತಿಯ ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹರಡಿದ್ದು ರಿಂಡರ್ ಪೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಮೆನಿ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಡೈಡ್ ಎಟ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್. Different from one species it can spread to other species. Even in plants, for example, American chestnut trees, they are all wiped out due to the introduction of one particular fungus, the blight fungus, that evolved in Asia, but accidentally got into US where it could wipe out American chestnut trees. So these are all the threats which are very serious, I should say that. Apart from that, there are 101 reason you can list out. Many of them we have discussed in the previous classes, and in the next class also we are going to discuss few more. But this is some of the most important, prominent one. As I have told you, this is the reason which I have prioritized as far as the threats to biodiversity is concerned. So, in the end, I would like to conclude saying that in future, your children or a younger generation might ask you a question. They will ask. Certainly, you are asking the question to us, and your children, grandchildren will ask the same question to you. When the crisis on biodiversity becomes so rampant during the early 21st century, what did you do about it? ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಜೀವವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಜೀವ ಹಾನಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದಿನ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಈಗಲಿಂದನೇ ಫ್ರಮ್ ರೈಟ್ ನಾವು we should think of conserving, protecting, managing our biodiversity. So this is what, yeah, sometimes it may be because of one more example. Poaching is also another serious problem for biodiversity for various reasons, for the tusk, skin, hide, for various things. See, there are, I have given you some photograph, and by seeing the photograph, you can understand how brutally the animals are killed for their various uh, organs. Either it may be tiger, cheetah, elephants, rhinoceros, alwa. So now with this, I will stop here, and I have to discuss about human-animal conflict. Probably, okay, even I can discuss that. Few minutes required. And another problem is the human-animal, human-wildlife conflict. All of us are facing. You go everywhere, people complain about the monkeys. So they don't leave anything in our farm. They drink tender coconut. They eat all the banana. They eat all the papaya. Nothing. They don't allow anything to grow. This is the problem that you hear now and then or every day. So this is an example for human wildlife conflict. When this generally happens, when wildlife encroach on those of human population, naturally it will cost both the residents as well as wild animals. For us, there will be loss of crops, and for animals, some many times it's a loss of their life. All continents, not only Asia or India or Kumta, everywhere this problem has become very, very rampant. So, man wildlife conflict refers to the interaction between wild animal and people and consequential negative impact on both of them. Consequential negative impact on both of them. So what has happened over a period of time? We human population has grown exponentially, and we encroach a lot of forest area, water space, everything. So now, as a result, what's happening is a conflict has come between wildlife and human being. So any interaction between humans and wildlife that results in a negative impact on human social, economic, and cultural life and on the conservation of wildlife population or the environment, we call it as man animal conflict. Almost entire country is affected by these human wildlife conflicts. Most major species which are involved in the conflicts are leopards, snow leopard, tiger, wolf, elephants. Today morning only I read in the newspaper that near Mundgod the wildlife have started raiding their agriculture farm. Like that black buck, wild ass, sloth bear, brown bear, rhesus and bonnet macaques, all monkeys, blue bull, wild pig, ಅಲ್ವಾ ಹಂದಿ ಕಾಟ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಇದೆ ನೀವು ಹಳ್ಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ. All these things are the example for human wildlife conflicts. What is the reason behind it? Again, deforestation, loss of habitat, and decline of prey. Why the leopards and tiger hunt the cattle? Because they don't get their natural prey in the forest. So they find it easy to catch these grazing cattle or human beings. Sometimes the animal becomes old and they cannot hunt, so the easy prey becomes the human being. and human population is growing and plenty of them are available. So as a result, what is happening is for human being it is the crop damage, animal deaths, loss of human life, injuries to people, and what we do, we use different techniques to kill them. Either you shoot them, electrocute them, poison them. These are the consequences of that. Then what is the solution? In fact, there is no perfect solution. One thing you can go for fencing your agriculture land use planning. We should plant such plants that these uh, are not attracted. Suppose if you grow sugarcane in a elephant infested area, naturally the elephants get attracted towards the sugarcane and they will start attacking your sugarcane garden. You have to provide your livestock, then uh, try to stop encroaching their area and grow more food trees in the uh, in this forest and other things. That's the only solution that I feel. So this is what I wanted to discuss with you. ಏನು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಾ? ಹಲೋ ಈಗ ಹೇಳಿ, ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಾ? ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ?
हाँ सर।
Yes, sir.
Have you understood what I have told? What I have
Yes,
discussed?
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
If you have any doubt,
Sir.
you can ask me. If not, I will stop here because I have one more class. And if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next class. Okay, thank you for attending.
Thank you, sir.
हाँ